It's Friday, April 29th, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and today we have the latest local news for you and a rundown of our biggest stories of the week. Donald Ang joins us with the forecast and a look back on this day in history, and Rob Adams will have your Nutmeg Sports Update. But first, on to today's news. State police used Instagram to catch a reckless driver on 63 motor vehicle charges. 21-year-old Gabrielle Canestri Jr. of New Haven is accused of driving recklessly on I-95, I-91, and city streets. In November 2015, troopers initiated an investigation into dangerous operators in the Bridgeport and New Haven area. And troopers were able to locate an Instagram account called Reckless203, which contained a large number of videos showing reckless operation of motorcycles, four-wheelers, and dirt bikes. Using landmarks, troopers were able to identify several locations where those violations occurred from Bridgeport to East Haven. A search warrant for the Instagram account was applied for and granted, yielding a large amount of digital evidence. On Wednesday, Canestri was taken into custody and processed at Troop G in Bridgeport. He was held on a $50,000 bond. His charges include 15 counts of reckless endangerment, 23 counts of reckless driving, 24 counts of operating a motorcycle without face protection, and 1 count of misuse of a registration plate. And in an update on a story we brought you yesterday, a teen who was reported missing in Milford yesterday has returned home, according to the family. Milford police said the local girl had been missing since about 3 p.m. on Wednesday, April 27th, but she's home safe. And according to Hearst, Connecticut media, the Connecticut Department of Agriculture is holding a horse auction to pay for the cost of caring for 32 horses that were seized in February as part of an animal cruelty investigation. The department seized the horses, more than 80 chickens, 2 dogs, and several rabbits from the Fairy Tale Equine Facility in East Hampton. The roundup came following an investigation that determined the animals were malnourished, not receiving proper veterinary care, and were living in unhealthy conditions. All the money raised from the auction will help pay for the costs incurred through caring for them and other animals at the department's large animal rehabilitation facility at the women's prison in Niantic. Those interested in buying one of the horses will be asked their planned use for the horse, what kind of housing it will have, and how many acres they own, along with their experience and whether they have ever been investigated on animal cruelty charges. The questionnaire and bids for the horses must be received by the end of the business day on June 1st. You can get more information at the Connecticut Department of Agriculture's website. And Bridgeport police on Wednesday continued their crackdown on heroin sales in the city, arresting 2 suspected dealers. 21-year-old Aaron Boyles of Huntington Road was charged with sale of narcotics, possession, and other charges, and along with tampering with evidence after police said they saw him make heroin sales to 2 Monroe residents. Police said officers were patrolling the east side when they spotted an apparent drug deal between the occupants of 2 cars on Stillman Street. Officers stopped the car, and one contained 2 Monroe men who police said immediately confessed that they had purchased heroin from the driver of the other car, identified as Boyles. Police said Boyles was arrested after a struggle. They said he had 30 small bags containing heroin. And in another case, members of the state police gang task force arrested Alexander Lex Graham, 29, of Clover Hill Road, after they said he sold heroin to undercover officers on 3 occasions. Graham was charged with 2 counts of sale of narcotics and 1 count of sale within 1,500 feet of a school. Police said one of those drug sales was done near Halen School. And according to reports, an Acela train has hit a person in Guilford, and train service was suspended this morning. Officials from the Department of Transportation said a trespasser was on the tracks, and the Amtrak Acela train was heading to Boston, hit the person around 8:15 this morning by the Branford line. Train service there was on hold as officials investigate. No other information was immediately available. And New Canaan Board of Education Chairman Deanna Carlson is suggesting that interested persons contact members of the state legislature's Education Committee to urge them to arrange for the state budget cuts to come from areas other than children's education. The Connecticut State Legislature is currently meeting and negotiating to address Governor Daniel Malloy's proposal to cut $64 million in education grants to municipalities across the state, including a 100% cut to New Canaan's grant from $1.49 million to 0. Malloy is working with the legislature to reduce the state budget deficit, which is estimated to be as high as $930 million for the fiscal year beginning in July. Education cost-sharing grants are an allocation that the state gives to towns in an effort to enable the towns to provide a relatively equal education opportunity for all students. The grants are a $2 billion expense for the state. Traditionally, the wealthier towns in the state receive smaller grants and cities get larger grants. For example, Bridgeport receives $182 million. New Canaan is one of the 28 towns in the state targeted by the governor to lose its entire ECS grant. And the HAN Network Wishes in Flight campaign has had a successful run and is in its final stages. During the month of April, Make-A-Wish Connecticut and the HAN Network partnered for the first ever Airline Miles Drive in Fairfield County. And this Airline Mile donation campaign will help grant travel wishes to Connecticut children battling life-threatening medical conditions. More than 70% of wishes granted involve air travel. That's more than 150 wishes each year in Connecticut. You may donate your unused Delta or United miles directly to the HAN Network Wishes in Flight campaign by visiting ct.wish.org/HAN Network, and you can get more information at any of our websites. But we're going to throw it over to Donald Eng now for a look at the forecast.
Well, Kate, it's not too bad out there now, but that's unfortunately going to change. We're looking at cloudy today with some sunshine throughout the late afternoon, high around 55. Turning cloudier and steady rain this evening. Showers continuing overnight, 39 for the low. A nice day tomorrow. Not really warm, 60 degrees, but mostly sunny. No rain in the forecast for tomorrow, but rain throughout the day on Sunday. 49 degrees for the high, dropping down to 43 degrees for the low, and the rain continues into Monday, where it's going to be showers and 57 degrees. So if you have outdoor plans over the weekend, Saturday is the day to do it. 60 degrees and sunny during the day on Saturday, but rain tonight, rain Sunday, and not really warm any of those days. We are at 55 degrees in Shelton right now, 51 in Ridgefield. Greenwich has 52. Kate?
All right, thanks so much, Don. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Don takes a look back on this day in history, and Rob has a Nutmeg Sports update coming up after this.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or go to coastalorthoexpress.com. That's coastalorthoexpress.com. Like them on Facebook.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances. Where community comes first. A place where there's more than one kind of interest. Where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well. Until April 30th, choose $150 cash for a Smeg toaster when you open a My Bankwell Choice checking account with a minimum of $2,000.
A Better View Window Cleaning Plus has been cleaning glass all over Connecticut for over 20 years. They also specialize in cleaning chandeliers, mirrors, skylights, tiles, and will power wash anything that needs cleaning. They hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and are fully insured and bonded. When you deal with a Better View, you're dealing with the best, not the rest. Call today for a free estimate, 203-284-8836, or visit them online, abetterviewcleaning.com.
Hi, I'm Rob Adams with my good friend Donald Eng, and we're the home team for Nutmeg Sports, Monday through Wednesday at 2 o'clock right here on the HAN Network. We are the place for all things Connecticut sports, so come hang out with us on Nutmeg Sports. Don? They don't call him the best color man in the game for nothing. Nutmeg Sports, 2 o'clock Monday through Wednesday right here on the HAN Network.
We're back on this Friday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network, and it's time to take a look back on this day in history with Donald Eng.
Well, thanks, Kate. Today is April 29th, and normally we go pretty far back. Today we're going to stay pretty recent. We start in 1968. The controversial musical Hair opens at the Biltmore Theater on Broadway. Hair was quite controversial, featuring casual sex and almost constant drug use among the characters. Also, it had nearly 3 times as many musical numbers as a typical Broadway play, with a whopping 34. The most famous song, of course, Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In medley, has been ranked by Rolling Stone as the 66th greatest rock and roll song of all time. To 1992, riots break out in Los Angeles following the acquittal of police officers charged with excessive force in the beating of Rodney King. Over the next 3 days, 53 people would die, hundreds of buildings would be destroyed, and thousands would be looted. To 2004, the end of an automotive era as Oldsmobile builds its final car, ending 107 years of production. Despite a string of successful car launches in the 1990s, the brand had lost its niche as a vehicle that was more prestigious than a Chevy, more comfortable than a Pontiac, more luxurious than a Buick, but less of all of those than a Cadillac. The final car was an Alero, you can see it right there, signed by the assembly line workers. The car is now at the GM Heritage Center in Lansing, Michigan. And finally, now we go to 2015. If you didn't see this, you weren't alone. There, but check it out.
And they threw 20 hits and 18 runs against the Red Sox. Seems like it's probably about, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. Yep, but Showalter and the White Sox, both these teams came out to practice yesterday here at Camden Yards. 3-ball, 2-strike count on De Aza, and the pitch will be fouled back again. Will all these souvenirs still be in the stands 10 days from now when the Orioles return back home for their next home game? Could be a lot of baseballs around the ballpark.
Well, you have a couple of scouts behind home plate, and that's it.
Yep, that's it.
That is 2015. The Baltimore Orioles and Chicago White Sox set a major league attendance record for least attendance, with paid attendance at 0. There were no fans in the stadium as it was officially closed due to the 2015 Baltimore riots following the death of Freddie Gray. By the way, if you happen to be a fan of the Tampa Bay Rays, you probably didn't notice anything unusual about that scene. But that is your look back in history, and I am Donald Eng.
All right, thanks so much, Don. We're going to throw it over to Rob Adams for a Nutmeg Sports Update. Check it out.
Thanks, Kate. Good morning, everyone. Well, of course, another busy day in sports as we take a look at the scoreboard. Just one baseball score as Darien nipped NFA 6-5. The Blue Wave are now 9-2. From softball, it was Bristol Central over Staples 9-8, and NFA beat Darien 5-1. Over to boys lacrosse, a 16-goal shutout for Greenwich as they beat the Black Knights of Stamford. Danbury by 3 over New Milford. It was Wilton all over Trinity Catholic 18-0. St. Joseph 7, Ward 3, and Norwalk beat McMahon 5-0. To girls lacrosse, Fairfield Ward got a 3-goal win over Staples 11-8. 12 different Rams scored goals as New Canaan beat McMahon 21-5. Campbell Armstrong scored 4 times. Wilton over Norwalk 15-4. And the Darien Blue Wave came back from their 10-10 double overtime tie with Manhasset to rip through Danbury 20-6. Boys tennis winners, Danbury over McMahon 7-0, West Hill 6, St. Joseph 1, Ridgefield 7, Central 0, Staples 5, Norwalk 2. It was Ludlow over Trinity Catholic 7-0, New Canaan over Ward 7-0, and Wilton nipped Darien 4-3. In girls tennis, New Canaan has won 5 in a row. The Rams beat Ward 6-1. Greenwich 7, Stamford 0, Ridgefield 7, Central 0, Ludlow 7, Trinity Catholic 0, and wait for it, Darien 7, Wilton 0. Over to boys golf. Danbury got a win over Central at Fairchild Wheeler. It was Wilton beating McMahon at Oak Hills, and Trumbull topped Stamford at Tashua Knolls. Finally, in girls golf, Danbury over Wilton at Richter Park, Greenwich over Trumbull at Griffith E. Harris, and Ward topped Ludlow at Smith Richardson. And, of course, looking at the schedule, it doesn't get much bigger than tomorrow. Right here on the HAN Network, the Darien Blue Wave and the New Canaan Rams, 2 national powers in boys lacrosse. We'll have the game tomorrow at Darien High School. Special pregame coverage begins at 11:30. Frank Granito, Justin Galanti, and I will have the call at 1 o'clock. Very big game, about as big as it gets in Connecticut lacrosse. That is tomorrow, and it's right here on the HAN network. But that'll do it. With sports, I'm Rob Adams. Kate, back to you.
Thanks so much, Rob. And since it's Friday, we're taking a look at some of the top stories of the week across all of our HAN network news sites, including that an old Milford firehouse will soon have a brand new use. It will become the second location for the Fire Engine Pizza Company. Marty McCarthy bought the old firehouse on Melba Street from the city of Milford last year for $180,000 and is in the process of a major overhaul. He estimates the building will undergo almost $500,000 in renovations before it's ready to open, serving up brick oven pizza and more. McCarthy has a restaurant in the Black Rock section of Bridgeport, and when the old firehouse on Melba Street in Milford went on the auction block in recent years, he thought it would be a perfect location to expand. The city had tried unsuccessfully to sell the Melba Street firehouse back in 2014 and ultimately took much less than the $477,000 city initially set. McCarthy couldn't say when work will be done, but he said when it's complete, the eatery will seat about 100 people between the dining room and the bar. And a heroin arrest last week got a lot of attention. The Shelton Police Department arrested and charged a man with possession of an intent to sell narcotics in the Huntington area on Wednesday, April 20th. 27-year-old Michael Newdeck of Shelton was arrested at his Huntington home on 3 arrest warrants charging him with possession of narcotics with intent to sell and 1 count of possession. He was released on an $80,000 bond and is scheduled to appear in Derby Superior Court on May 4th. His arrest stems from a month-long joint investigation between the New Haven DEA Tactical Diversion Squad and Shelton detectives on the illegal sale of heroin in the area. Shelton police say they will continue to investigate drug dealing and ask anyone with information to contact them at 203-924-1544. And a story that made the top 5 last week is still leading to a lot of discussion. That's that the Stratford Police Department may have to provide information on whether it has purchased or used drones, eavesdropping, or tracking technology after a report indicated the department violated the state's Freedom of Information Act. The Americans for Civil Liberties Union of Connecticut announced last Thursday that it had received a proposed final decision in its favor against the Stratford Police Department. In a 4-page ruling issued April 12th, the FOI Commission hearing officer said Stratford Police violated the FOI Act. The ACLU of Connecticut first requested these documents back in June. A final ruling will be made by the FOI Commission at its May 11th hearing. And in an update on that story from the Stratford Star, Police Lieutenant Frank Iannotti said the department has filed an objection under the exception to FOI laws, which is in accordance with regulations. He said there is a due process and we are following the rules, not ignoring the request. And in other top stories, Darien resident Susan McGoldrich, 53 years old, was charged with driving drunk after rear-ending another car at the intersection of Middlesex Road and Norotan Avenue on April 16th. Police said 3 cars were involved in the accident that happened about 4:45 in the afternoon, and they identified McGoldrich as the offending driver. No injuries were reported, and McGoldrich told police that she thought she saw a green light while traveling east on Middlesex. The officer at the scene, however, detected an odor of alcohol coming from her vehicle, but she initially denied drinking. However, she was unable to pass field sobriety tests, and a breathalyzer test showed her blood alcohol content levels at 0.11 and 0.10. She was arrested and was scheduled to appear in court on April 26th. And a nasty back and forth between Trumbull First Selectman Tim Herbst and Town Treasurer Anthony Musto was one of our most read stories of the week. Restaurant receipts, legal opinions, reimbursement policies, and investment income all converged this week in Trumbull as the town's first selectman and its treasurer walked the political tightrope together after the latter requested the former's itemized credit card receipts earlier this month. Wading through the dozens and dozens of pages of documents, one thing remains clear according to the Trumbull Times, and that's that the top officials need to sit down and mend their broken relationship or the town will suffer. Herbst is is a Republican serving his 4th term as first selectman, and Musto is a Democrat who previously served as treasurer under former first selectman Ray Baldwin, also a Democrat, almost a decade before being reelected in November. There's a lot more on that story at TrumbullTimes.com. And finally, we've reached the halfway point of the 2016 spring sports season in Connecticut, and the FCAC continues to see many athletes shine. The HAN Network's sports editors and broadcasters have nominated 22 male and female athletes for the week. You can check out all those nominees at han.network. And of course, those winners will be announced on Monday at 2 o'clock on Nutmeg Sports. We're going to step out for a break, and when we come back, we're going to recap some of the top stories that we're following today on your coffee break after this. For more than 50 years, Triple S has been Fairfield County's expert service for carpet, upholstery, and drapery cleaning. We provide the best in repairs and in-depth restoration, understanding fabrics and how to properly clean and restore them. Our staff will come to your home to clean your wall-to-wall carpet to perfection. We can also pick up your fine carpets and bring them to our facilities. With locations in Norwalk, Stamford, and Stratford, Triple S will get the job done fast, big or small. At Triple S, you can count on our people as well as our cleaning. Find us at triplesclean.com or 203-847-8000.
Join the HAN Network and Make-A-Wish Connecticut to help make travel wishes come true for local kids with life-threatening medical conditions. Donate your unused airline miles to the HAN Network Wishes in Flight campaign. Over 70% of wishes granted involve travel, and your unused airline miles can help make kids' dreams become a reality. Plus, once you donate your miles to Make-A-Wish, they will never expire. Donate your unused miles and help the HAN Network share the power of a wish.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Drop off your knives to be sharpened, grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers, and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
Today's coffee break is brought to you by Polly's Gymnastics in Stratford. Flip into summer at Polly's with 7 weeks of classes that start the week of June 20th and run through August 7th. The Ferry Boulevard Center has programs for preschoolers, girls, and boys, as well as advanced high school programs and competitive classes. Registration is now open. You can call 203-375-3244 or visit www.pollysgymnastics.com.
You are watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. Nearly 500,000 viewers enjoyed our broadcasts in the first 5 months. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Jessica Murrin, Advertising Director, at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
We're back on this Friday edition of your coffee break. Some breaking news just in. A person hit by an Acela train in Guilford this morning has reportedly died. Officials from the Department of Transportation said a trespasser was on the tracks and the Amtrak Acela train that was heading to Boston hit the person around 8:15 this morning close to the Branford line. Train service was on hold as officials investigate, and no further information was available. And recapping some of the top stories we're following today, state police used Instagram to catch a reckless driver on 63 motor vehicle charges. 21-year-old Gabrielle Canestri Jr. of New Haven is accused of driving recklessly on I-95, I-91, and city streets. In November 2015, troopers initiated an investigation into dangerous operators in the Bridgeport and New Haven area. Troopers were able to locate an Instagram account, Reckless203, which contained a large number of videos showing reckless operation of motorcycles, four-wheelers, and dirt bikes. Using landmarks, troopers were able to identify several of the locations where the violations occurred. And on Wednesday, Canestri was taken into custody and processed at Troop G in Bridgeport. He was held on a $50,000 bond. His charges include 15 counts of reckless endangerment, 23 counts of reckless driving, 24 counts of operating a motorcycle without face protection, and 1 count of misuse of a registration plate. Law enforcement personnel throughout the state have been receiving frequent complaints from citizens about reckless motorcycle and ATV riders on highways and local roads. They said many times offenders are gone before troopers can arrive, but they will be using social media to identify the operators who endanger the lives of other drivers. And in an update on a story we brought you yesterday, a teen who was reported missing has returned home, according to her family. Milford police said the local girl had been missing since about 3 o'clock on Wednesday, April 27th, but she returned home yesterday. And according to Hearst, Connecticut media, the Connecticut Department of Agriculture is holding a horse auction to pay for the cost of caring for the 32 horses that were seized in February as part of an animal cruelty investigation. The department seized the horses, more than 80 chickens, 2 dogs, and several rabbits from the Fairy Tale Equine Facility in East Hampton. The roundup came following an investigation that determined that the animals were malnourished and not receiving proper care. All the money raised from the auction will help pay for costs incurred through caring for them and other animals at the department's large animal rehabilitation facility at the Women's Prison in Niantic. Located at a state correctional complex in Niantic, the facility is home to the Second Chance program, which is a collaboration between the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Correction, through which inmates volunteer to work with animals in partnership with personnel. But you can get more information about the auction at the Connecticut Department of Agriculture website. And we just want to mention again that the HAN Network Wishes in Flight campaign has had a successful run and is in its final stages. During April, Make-A-Wish Connecticut and the HAN Network partnered for the first ever Airline Miles drive in Fairfield County. The Airline Mile donation campaign will help grant wishes to Connecticut children battling life-threatening medical conditions. More than 70% of those wishes granted involve air travel. You can donate unused airline miles at the website, which is ct.wish.org/HAN network, and you could also get more information there. But we're going to throw it over to Donald Ang for a final look at the forecasts.
Well, Kate, we've got a cloudy day in store for today. A little bit of sunshine here and there later in the afternoon. High expected to be right around 55 degrees. Steady rain developing this evening, and showers will continue overnight, dropping down to about 39 degrees tonight. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high about 60, with a nice little breeze at about 5 miles an hour. Clouding up overnight and becoming completely overcast tomorrow night, and then showers early on Sunday, developing into steady rain later on in the afternoon. That rain will continue into the evening. 49 for the high, 43 for the low. So other than Saturday, not a great weekend forecast, but on the other hand, there's lots of pollen in the air too, so that's
It's always a good thing.
so the weather's not great, but your eyes are itchy.
Well,
you know,
it is nice to see the leaves coming back.
It
that
really
makes
is.
you feel better.
It really is. Until it's less nice to see my blue car turning yellow, but you know that's just kind of the way it goes.
True.
It's 52 degrees outside our Shelton studio right now. Greenwich has 53, 51 in Ridgefield. Kate.
All right, thanks so much, John. Well, we're going to wrap things up on your coffee break for the week, but there's a big game coming up tomorrow on the HAN Network that you could catch. It's Darien and New Canaan boys lacrosse. Big game. We have a pre-game show at 11:30 that will feature players and coaches from both teams, and then that game starts at 1 o'clock, so be sure to check it out. And we'll see you on Monday for your coffee break. I am just tongue-tied today, but have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.